I went on a road trip from Texas to California, and I brought a lot of film.
The lighting in here is impeccable. That was a long drive, and I have another one exactly that long. Then I'll be in Arizona, where I'll shoot photos with Becky Jo Harris, and I'm looking forward to it. You can introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Becky Jo Harris, and I'm shooting I don't know, a
Promotional video, photo. Yeah.
Promotional, yeah.
Yeah.
Some promotional photos.
We're super professional.
We are super professional.
That's great. This first shoot was at a really neat and large drive-in theater in Glendale, Arizona that kindly let us sneak in for some photos. There was sporadic rain, which made sitting on the ground challenging because it's basically a huge parking lot with a lot of oil on the ground. Still, Becky did a great job with her energetic and humorous personality. I primarily shot my Bronica ETRSi and Canon T90 loaded with Lomography 400 film. And you'll also notice how I shot a lot of Polaroids on this trip. I'm probably going to do a video about that sometime soon.
There we go.
It would have been a lot of fun to shoot here when it's night or later, or to have more lighting and stuff, but you can't be too picky when you're already lucky to get to shoot in a place like this. I think we did pretty well, and Becky was awesome and used the situation to her advantage, which is maybe an advantage of her improv training, which is extra cool to work with as a photographer. I really do wish I had brought my fisheye lens though, because that would have helped get this screen in a closer shot, but again, this is not something I completely anticipated. This was kind of like, spur of the moment. We just thought it would be cool to do, and I don't even know if we decided to shoot there until the day of, or maybe the day before. So I think we did okay, just kind of improvising with a really cool location that we weren't 100% sure we could get. And the drive-in also had these really great ticket booths, actually multiple ones, and I shot at a couple of them. And the one thing I wish that we could have done is had the lights on in there, but again, spur of the moment, not planned. But if we were to plan this kind of dusk with the backlit sign with the letters at the top and the open sign being on, maybe with several cars in the background, that would have been a lot of fun. But still, it was a really colorful and fun backdrop for the photo session. And even though my GoPro didn't agree with my plans, we did shoot at this really neat ice cream truck after this as our final location for the day. And the owners of Coyote Odie were kind enough to let us kind of use their truck as a set, which I love how it turned out with this Portra 400, which is rare for me to actually like. The reds and the blues really do something for me, and I just love that color combination. And then it was time to go to California. Was a really awesome art gallery called Art Queen in Joshua Tree. Well worth a visit. I was hanging out with my friend Penelope Valentine, an incredible photographer and artist in her own right. The high desert was full of art installations like this one, and we paid a visit to the potentially cliche Roy's sign. It's in Amboy, California. I believe I said that right. I hope I did. You'll recognize this sign from all kinds of videos and photographs, but sometimes, like I say, cliches are cliche for a reason, and this is just a spectacular example of mid-century design, and it's emblematic of a different era of America. They recently made the sign where it would light up again for the first time in who knows how long, and I hope this is now becoming symbolic of a rebirth of sorts in America that includes the rebirth of analog. But anyway, I'm getting off track. While the sign is kind of cliche among film photographers especially, it feels like, I like to think, like Penelope pointed out, it's a truly beautiful area. The drive was wonderful and I had a great time. Also, it was crawling with influencers. The gift shop was fun too, root beer. And yes, I took a lot of sign photos. I'm not going to let a cliche tell me what I can and can't take photos of. The main photos were shot on Ektachrome, and these other ones were shot on some messed up Vision 3 50D I shot in my Yashica T5. It wasn't planned, but I dig the grunge, and the Ektachrome rendered these neons and blues and primary colors just so beautifully. I really love that film, and I need to shoot more landscape and non-portraits with it. A couple more Polaroids, and that was that. Although on the drive back we saw the strawberry supermoon. Definitely a very Lynchian shot here. Then I swung by Pioneer Town, an old western film set basically, to meet YouTube film royalty Jason GRAINYDAYS Gummerfelt and Caleb Bad Flashes Knieven. We snapped a few frames and the blinding sun and extreme heat. If you see the guest book at Pioneer Town, you might try to look for our signatures. I used to imagine shooting my RZ or RB, then what mirror comes back and my hair flies back. I hope I won't ruin their reputations by saying that they were really nice and it was super fun to hang out with them. And I really appreciate them meeting up with me after their Joshua Tree camping trip, especially in this heat, since I don't know how any of us would get any photos in this extreme bright light, but I'm sure they did. I may have gotten a few, I don't know. But after all the shooting, we were destroyed by amazing barbecue at Pappy's. Highly recommended. Also, I've got to say that Polaroid's latest batches, especially of SX70, but I also think 600 film, develop dramatically faster, look better, and are possibly the best batch out of the Impossible Polaroid Originals and Polaroid era of film. It feels almost like shooting old Polaroid in a surprising amount of ways. Also, props to the restaurant worker who got this shot. Watched a trip to Joshua Tree without heading up the historic birthplace of U2's Bono, the Joshua Tree National Park. Despite it not being the actual birthplace of Bono, it is a really cool national park filled with all kinds of amazing geological wonders, and as the name might imply, Joshua trees, which are all over the place and they're beautiful and you should not touch them. Like, seriously, don't touch them. I shot several types of film here. Primarily in my Yashica T5, I shot a roll of Silberra Color 100, which produced about the look I was hoping it would, unlike the quote-unquote edge-burned 50D I shot in Amboy. And I also shot a bunch of medium format. I think this was primarily Portra 160. And once again, the Polaroid stood out big time. And this is one of the few places in recent years that I've shot portrait film and really felt like it worked well. You can see how the Polaroid turned out. I love the combination of this tree and this rock and the sun cutting through it and providing interesting highlights and shadows and texture from the needles, I guess, on the tree. Although I'm really kind of over the desaturated look unless I'm seeking something like Metropolis. I much prefer the little bit of Ektar or even the Color 100 I shot in this area on my T5. I like the added saturation, and if that means the occasional overly red Caucasian skin tone, I'm kind of okay with that. But overall, I wasn't displeased with any of the film I shot here, and I think the Ektar and the Polaroid SX70 probably held it best, but I just really enjoyed this location, and I loved getting on top of this rock and just feeling the rush of wind and life. It's extremely relaxing.
Wind shakes the camera. I'm worried that you might not knock it over.
No, it's on there. It moves.
Is that a GoPro?
It is.
Ooh, action shot. Fun.
I'm setting up my flash now. So that was Casey and Ollie on the laptop who got to watch us do this 8x10 photo session briefly before Penelope's laptop battery died. And I decided as my last act of photography in Joshua Tree, or the Joshua Tree area, I would take an 8x10 portrait of Penelope. As you can see, I asked her to climb on top of the largest boulder in the area, and I had to use some heavy rocks to keep my flash from tipping over. I definitely should have brought a C-stand, but I didn't think about it despite driving out to California. I could have brought a C-stand. But anyway, I had my Intrepid 8x10 and 2 sheets of Portra 160, and despite swaying like you can tell maybe, the flash was actually surprisingly secure with those 2 heavy rocks on the base. Still, inclines, if you have a C-stand with rising legs, they're priceless for inclines. Anyway, I had this vintage tripod under the Intrepid 8x10 and I lit it. Just real basic flash. I was trying to kind of mimic the sun a little bit with the flash direction and the hard light. I didn't want a modifier on it. And the reality of an 8x10 photo session is often that you get 2 frames and they're of the same shot and you choose the favorite one and that's it. And it also helps when you have Penelope dressed in this amazing silver jumpsuit thing and just striking the power pose of all power poses on this giant boulder. And she has a motorcycle. Oof. And alas, it was time to go home. I had an amazing time in California and Arizona as well. I'd like to thank everyone I met and hung out with, and especially Penelope, and also Jason and Caleb for coming out to meet me, and Becky Jo Harris for shooting with me twice on this trip, as you'll see at some point. Subscribe and turn on notifications. I'm getting back into the groove and I have a lot of really cool stuff coming up very soon. So thanks for watching.
We're capable of studying